Hello everyone, welcome back. I am your host, Jacky Polisson. It is the holiday season, so we're talking about bubblies naturally. Last week we looked at Prosecco, and today we're going to talk about traditional method sparkling wines that are a little lighter on your wallet than champagne. So let's dive right in with a recap on what traditional method sparkling wine is. So basically it's just a regular fermentation of a still white wine. Once that wine is dry, it is transferred to a bottle, it is dosed with a mixture of yeast and sugar, and it's sealed. That yeast and that sugar is going to provoke a secondary fermentation, and the byproduct of fermentation is carbon dioxide. Because the carbon dioxide is trapped in the bottle, it actually dissolves into the liquid and forms bubbles. Once the bubbles are formed, the wine will stay in the bottle for a period of minimum 9 months for entry-level cavas and cremants, up to a number of years for top champagnes. So why is this interesting? Because while in the bottle, the wine is in contact with the spent yeast cells that were used during the fermentation. These yeast cells are called leaves, and they break down a process called autolysis over time. So this autolysis is going to bring really interesting aromatics and texture and mouthfeel to the wine. It can give aromas that range from fresh bread to patisserie type notes. On the palate, it can give a really creamy layered texture, can give nutty notes. It gives more finesse to the bubbles. So how can you get the best possible traditional method sparkling wines for the least amount of money? Well, the trick is to pick up the premium wines from less prestigious regions rather than the cheapest champagnes. So let's start with cava. Cava is predominantly white sparkling wine, but rosé versions do exist. It's made in the Penedès region of northeastern Spain. The main grapes are native Spanish varieties Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parlada. Cava has 3 quality tiers that you can look out for on the label. If they're labeled just cava, that's the basic tier, and those are aged on their lees for 9 months. The next level up is Reserva. This is aged on its lees for 15 months, the same as non-vintage champagne. And here you might find some Chardonnay or Pinot Noir in the blend. The highest quality level is Gran Reserva. These are vintage dated, meaning they come from one single harvest, and they are aged on their lees for a minimum of 30 months. The basic cava level gives sort of green apple and lemon notes on the nose. It's earthy, it's quite broad, it's fresh, light in body, nothing earth-shattering, but can be quite good value. As cava ages, it takes on toasty, nutty notes, a creamier texture, more layered. The bubbles become finer, there's a longer length. So if you like this style, a more complex style of cava, look out for Gran Reserva, potentially from an older vintage. Cava tends to be quite dry, but there are sweeter styles as well. If you want something bone dry, look for words on the label like in ascending order, Brut Natural, Extra-brut or Brut, and all Gran Reservas will fall into this category. Moving over to France now, cremant is the name given to sparkling wines made from 7 regions outside of Champagne. Cremant wines have slightly softer bubbles than Champagne, which makes them a little bit broader and rounder on the palate, and they tend to be a little bit fruitier because they're not often aged on their lees for longer than 9 months. The grapes used to make the cremants depend on the region. In Alsace, for example, it tends to be blends, predominantly Pinot Blanc. In the Loire Valley, Chenin Blanc is the major grape, and in Burgundy, they use the same grapes as Champagne, Pinot Noir, and Chardonnay. If you'd like the most Champagne look-alike experience from your cremant-de-Bourgogne, look for the words on a label Éminent, which means that it has been aged on its lees for 24 months, or Grande Éminent, which has been aged for 36 months. There's first-rate traditional method sparkling wine being made all over the world now. There are fantastic examples in New Zealand, in Tasmania, in England, in California, in South Africa, and here in Ontario and Nova Scotia. Styles vary quite widely in terms of sweetness level, in terms of time on their lees, in terms of grapes used. So you should really check with your sommelier or with the store staff. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share widely. And if you want to stay tuned for future episodes, please don't be shy, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Santé!